I want to talk a little bit about what you can expect if you're just starting your journey on antidepressants, or if you're thinking about talking with your doctor about going on antidepressants. I want to share a little bit about my experience, what that was like, so you can know what you're signing up for and what to expect as you go through the journey. I'm going to break this video up into a few categories where I'm going to talk about the side effects that I faced. There were 5 of them that we're going to go through, and I'm going to also talk about how long it took for the side effects to fade and to pass. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about how I knew my medication was working and how I knew that the antidepressants were doing what they're supposed to do. First things first, a really quick disclaimer. I am not a medical professional, counselor, doctor, psychologist, any of that stuff. I'm just a dude talking to you on a camera through the power of the internet, sharing some of my story. So please, if you're experiencing anything as you go through this journey, talk to your doctor. You're going to be working with a medical professional for a reason, so please make sure you have those open conversations and don't just rely on stories you heard on the internet to be the ultimate guide of how things work. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the hard part about antidepressants is that it's not a one size fits all. And unfortunately, it's not like, here, everyone takes this one pill and it's going to work perfectly for you. There's different medications that do different things with how it interacts with the chemicals in your brain. So that's why it's really important that you talk with your doctor as you go through this journey. Honestly, I feel a little bit lucky because the first medication that my doctor gave me is the one that actually started working for me. So that was super awesome. I didn't have to go through like trying out a bunch of different types of medicine, going through the side effects over and over and over again just to find the right one. But if you go through any of these side effects, just know you're not going through this alone, and it's only a short-term thing, ideally. There were 5 noticeable side effects that I experienced when I first started taking Zoloft. The very first one was an increased sense of nausea. Like, I felt stomach sick, especially around day 4 or 5, where I just didn't want to do anything. It was almost like my stomach was just so upset and I didn't want to move. I would just lie in my bed, and thankfully, like, I work from home and I could take some time off. But that's exactly what I did. I just lay there and tried to let time pass as much as possible. The second side effect that I experienced was an intensified insomnia. Now, this one was a real kicker because I'd already been experiencing a lot of insomnia, which is a common symptom for people who are going through depression. And you'd think that the medicine that's supposed to help you get better would actually help you overcome the things you're struggling with, like lack of sleep. And boy, oh boy, was I wrong. In fact, there's a whole subreddit on Zoloft with tons of awesome memes, and I can definitely relate to a lot of these. The third side effect I experienced when I started my antidepressants was being extremely thirsty. Now, I normally drink 8 glasses of water a day, and when I started taking Zoloft, I found that I was taking anywhere from 10, 11, even 12 glasses of water a day. And a direct issue that happens from increasing your water intake means it's got to leave your system. So I would constantly be going to the washroom or the restroom if you're in the Americas, USA. I know you guys say things differently down there, eh? But it really sucked, especially when I would finally get some sleep and then just wake up at 2 in the morning because my bladder is only so big. The fourth side effect is going to sound counterintuitive because antidepressants are supposed to help you not feel depressed. But I found that, like, when I started taking Zoloft, I started experiencing really low lows. And thankfully, it would only last for 3 or 4 hours or so, but there was a handful of times where I would just want to go to the bedroom and just lie on my bed and be by myself. I didn't want to talk to my fiance. I didn't want to talk to my friends. I didn't even want to browse the internet. I just remember laying there and like hugging a pillow and just wishing it would end. So that was a really hard one to deal with that I've heard a lot of people go through as well. But it goes away. The side effects don't last forever, thankfully. And life on the other side, night and day different. The fifth side effect that I experienced was a little bit personal. Dad, if you're watching this, I'm sorry you have to see this and hear your son talk about this on the internet. Let's just say there was some issues with things down there. There's a lot of people who talk about antidepressants take away their entire sex drive and that it's really dramatic and things like that. And that wasn't necessarily the case for me. The best way I can describe it without getting too graphic and risk getting like banned on YouTube is it's just like things were very desensitized or numb down there. And it's kind of a weird thing to navigate, especially as a guy, because I don't know what it is, but for some stupid reason, we're just so like tuned into our body parts and we get a sense of like, that's my manliness there or whatever. It's ridiculous, but that was something that I definitely experienced and thankfully did not last a very long time. So you may be wondering, well, Marcus, how long did these side effects last for? And I'm glad you asked, my friend. I personally experienced these side effects for around 9 or 10 days. I didn't track the early days of my journey, so I definitely know it was in around that week 2 phase, coming up to week 2 where it started to taper off and the side effects wore down, which was nice. Now, if you're going through this right now, you're probably like, dude, it's not nice. It doesn't feel good at all. And I know I've been there, but again, I just want to share a little bit about my story so that you know you're not alone on this journey. Cool? So that leads to the inevitable question of, well, how long did it take for the antidepressants to work for you? How did you know that Zoloft was doing what it was supposed to be doing? Like, was there a drastic shift? Was it kind of something that gradually happened? I started taking Zoloft on Tuesday, June the 15th, and it took 57 days for me to really notice that things were kicking in and working. For me, it was really weird because I just noticed one day that I wasn't feeling sad or depressed or down. I really specifically remember a moment where I was out for a walk with my fiance. We were outdoors enjoying nature, and I was just like laughing my face off, and we were having such a good time and chuckling, and I just felt in like elevated spirits. And it was a feeling that I haven't experienced for a very long time. So for me, it didn't feel like it was this like slow thing. It just one day felt better. And then when I started thinking that thought, I said, okay, well, pay attention tomorrow and see if it feels good too. And then I did. And the next day, and it did feel good. I was like, okay, so let's see if this is a trend. And that's what I did. I just checked in with myself every single day. And for me, when it was working, I just knew. I can't describe it any other way than that. It's kind of weird because it's like this anticlimactic thing where you have to just stop and be like, how am I doing? Oh, I'm actually good. Instead of just being like, oh, I'm not depressed anymore. It's really weird. So with that, I want to give you a few practical things that you can do on your journey to help optimize your mindset and just make sure that you're going through this and don't get overwhelmed with all the feelings that come as your body starts going through these changes. The first thing I want to say is you have to treat the relationship you have with your family doctor as if you are partnering with someone to make your health better. And it may not work right away with the first medication they put you on, or maybe it's like me where it just clicks. But whatever the case is, it's critically important that you have an open, honest conversation with your doctor. Now, I know this may not feel natural, and especially talking about your feelings or your mood or your mindset, you might feel judged or awkward, but your doctor's a professional and they know what they're doing. And the best way they can help you is through getting a better sense of how you are and diagnosing where you're at in your journey. The second thing that I found really helpful was to track my mood each day. And this doesn't have to be like super dramatic or insane journaling or anything like that. In fact, you can download some apps on your smartphone if you just search like mood journal, where it's like use an emoji to state how you feel today. And the reason I want to share that you should do that is because if you're ever feeling a very low side effect like I experienced, it's really easy to feel like the world's closing in on you and that there's no hope. And if you can start looking like at the data, if you can start looking back and be like, oh, 3 days ago, I was actually in a pretty decent spot. So maybe this is just a short thing that's going to pass and I'm going to document it. And tomorrow is going to be a different day. It's really easy to sort of get out of your own head and to like take that 30,000 foot view if you start tracking your journey. So it can be as simple as writing a little smiley faces in a journal or a calendar. It can be as simple as using an app to track your thing. The last tip that I want to share with you, it's really straightforward and it may seem a little bit awkward, but be very open with a close group of people. You don't have to wear your heart on your sleeve and tell everybody that you're going through this journey. In fact, there's often a lot of shame associated with it too. And I didn't want to make these videos and talk about this till I knew that it was working for me. But when it came to the journey, my fiance knew, my parents knew, and a couple of my closest friends knew. And in those early days, I even said to my close friends, I was like, yo, is it cool if I reach out to you if I'm ever having a really bad time here? I'm just going through this journey with antidepressants, and I know it's important for me to force myself into these conversations, even if I don't feel like sharing or if I don't feel like being vulnerable or if I'm worried about bringing you down. Is it cool if I reach out and talk and connect with someone that's close to me? And the crazy thing was that the people in your life who are supportive are going to be cheering you on and they're going to be there for you. And you are not a burden or a hassle for having to ask for help or support. So that wraps it up. My name is Marcus Rideout, and if you found this video to be helpful, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear a little bit about what your journey's been like, what you've been facing, if any side effects, or if you've been on antidepressants and you're on the other side right now, you can shine a light for people who are starting that journey. So please share your story in the comments down below. Lastly, this video is part of a playlist that I'm building for YouTube on my channel here around the topic of depression, around treatment, and what it's like living with it and navigating it. I talk about more things on the channel like self-employment and business and things like that too. But if you're looking for more topics or videos on the topic of depression, make sure you subscribe as I'm working on some more content right now. Thank you for watching this video and have an awesome day.